Hey guys, what's up and welcome to Redhead Redemption. You guys like story times from my interesting life. Furthermore, you guys like story times related to my brief stint on Wall Street. So I'm coming at you with double today. So the title of this video was not clickbait. I did meet a billionaire once and have a sort of mentoring kind of relationship. I know I've told stories about like sugar daddies and stuff like that on this channel, but I actually did not have a sugar daddy in this billionaire. In fact, I introduced him to like my boyfriends and stuff like that. So it was an interesting experience. So I thought I would share with you how I met a billionaire. When I was going to college in New York City, I quit stripping about a year before I graduated. And during that time, there were these guys who I had met as a stripper, but I didn't like do stuff with them or anything like that. We had just kind of like hit it off, and whenever they'd come to the strip club, I would like, you know they would get me a drink and we'd like hang out and ask them questions about the stock market or something. One time I ran into them in Midtown of Manhattan. They were with some clients. Basically what these guys did is they sort of invested in penny stock companies. In case you don't know what a penny stock company is, it's basically a startup, like a Silicon Valley startup or something, but who goes public very early in its life to try to raise money. You see this a lot with medical type of company upstarts because you need a lot of money for research and development and to get past the FDA. It's hard to get past the FDA. So most of these companies are gonna fail and they still need a lot of funding. But if they do get past the FDA, it's a fucking gold mine, and then they get like, you know, the stock shoots through the roof and they get picked up by NASDAQ or something. So these guys basically built portfolios of these kind of like mostly medical penny stock companies, and they would, you know, meet clients. They could be people they're getting to invest or the penny stock companies themselves. I met them once, and this is important for how I met the billionaire, so I need to give you guys context. I was at the Four Seasons meeting another friend of mine. That's a different story. But anyway, I was at the Four Seasons and they were also there, and I recognized them from when I'd been a stripper. After I met whoever I was meeting, I went over there, I was like, oh, what's up guys, like blah blah blah, and they're like, hey Paige, like, you know, sit down. There was some clients, and the thing I am good at, as I've told you, is I'm good at talking to dudes. Like I'm good. I don't know why, it is something I'm good at. So I sat down and we all had like a good time, and I was like talking and being entertaining and all this kind of stuff. Long story short, they ended up thinking that this was a good added value, and I had told them I quit stripping, so I was basically living off my savings and stuff like that. And they were like, oh, you're so smart, you're already, you know, in school, and you're gonna get, you know, you've already had an internship, all this kind of stuff. Why don't we just pay you like a base amount, just enough to like survive while you're in college, and you just come out and hang out with us for like a couple times a week and do exactly what you just did. And I mean, I know you guys don't, no one ever believes me when I tell them this story. When I tell them that literally I had some friends who like paid my base expenses. I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't able to go shopping or anything, but like I could pay my rent and I could buy food and some transportation and stuff like that. That was about it. And in return, I got to go to like really cool places and meet a lot of like business types and all this kind of stuff. No one believes me. Everyone thinks I was sucking their dicks, whatever, but I wasn't. So how did I meet a billionaire? Well, I went out to like really nice steakhouses and all kinds of places like that with these guys. They always paid for anything like that. And like, we really were great friends. They were much older than me, but for some reason, I mean, they were honestly like, they never really grew up. One of them used to work with Jordan Belfort. Yes, the Wolf of Wall Street. So you can get an idea of maybe what kind of, you know, personalities they had. One time we were at like a really nice steakhouse, and one of my friends gestures at a table and says, hey, that's so-and-so. And he was just sitting with like one other guy, and they were in like a very deep conversation. This is the billionaire. And I was like, oh, who's that? And they're like, oh, it's a really well-known hedge fund manager. He did XYZ. And I was like, oh, that guy, I know that guy. I studied one of his, you know, investments or something in college. And he's like, yeah, I worked with him back in the day on something else and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go over there and introduce myself because that's a good fucking idea. This is what happened. Like, nobody believes me that this is how things like this can occur. But literally, he pointed him out, said he was like a person of interest. No, I wasn't going over there in a gold digging capacity. I simply, at the time, really wanted to run a hedge fund eventually, and or work at one eventually. So I thought, hey, let's network with fucking hedge fund managers, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna go introduce myself, and my friend's like, okay. I mean, at this point, he was used to like how crazy I could be about just meeting people from all walks of life. So this is what I mean. Like, what's the worst case scenario? He's weirded out and is like, I'm busy right now. Go away. Okay. So he would literally, if that happened, he would probably never remember me. It wouldn't be a big deal. I'm not gonna like ruin my career by like going and introducing myself to this guy. So that's where I get the balls, in case you're wondering. So what I do, and y'all, I'm super cray cray, and this is an example of it. I go over to the table, and he's, again, deep conversation, and I stand literally in front of the table like a fucking waitress, and I'm like, hello, Mr. So-and-so, my name is Paige. I recognized you, and I thought I would introduce myself. Really impressed by this case study I read that involved your, investment back in the day. Something like that. And here's the thing. I mean, if you were a dude doing this, probably wouldn't work out so well, just being honest. What was the reaction? Oh, is that really your name? Wow, well, you got some balls coming over here. Why don't you sit down? That's what happened. Long story short, just was my, self, basically. And it just so happened that I was studying alternative investments at Fordham, and we had an alternative investments club. And oftentimes my professor who ran the club organization part would say, if you guys have connections or something of people who would like to come talk to the club, other than me just using my own connections all the time, that, let me know, have them contact me. And at the time, I wasn't thinking like I would actually like do it or whatever, but I simply asked the hedge fund guy. I was like, so not gonna lie, I'm studying alternative investments. I want to work at a hedge fund one day, and we don't get a lot of speakers or people of your caliber at my school to talk to my club. And I think it'd be really cool if you came and talked about, your business and how you do it, and whatever. And he was like, well, it just so happens that I already am a professor at a different school, and I regularly teach a class there every spring. So this is totally up my alley of something I would do. Why don't you have your professor email me, and we'll set it up. Long story short, I got this billionaire hedge fund manager to come speak to a huge auditorium at my school, just because I went and introduced myself at his dinner table at a fancy Midtown steakhouse. And I will say it was minorly embarrassing, because when he actually came and put on this big, lecture, my professor was like, thanks to Paige Jennings for bringing, Mr. So-and-so here to speak to all of us, in front of like this auditorium of fucking like the entire business school basically turned up for this event because they all knew him. And you basically like just so the professor basically just told the auditorium that, oh, Paige's probably sucking dick to get these fucking hedge fund guys to come up in here. This wasn't the only one that I got to come to my school. And I wasn't. Like, I actually wasn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it didn't help that like a lot of the business school have found out that I was a stripper, because they came to the strip club that I worked at, since it was just like a 15-minute metro ride away from the school. So anyway, I got a little bit of an undeserved reputation through this. Long story short, this guy ended up being like quite the mentor. He was one of the most like brilliant people I ever met on Wall Street. And I got to go to like some more lunches and stuff occasionally. He thought I was really smart, actually, and he was kind of trying to guide me a bit with like where I wanted to go. And I told him I was having issues because most of the jobs that were coming my way were more sales oriented, and I didn't want to do sales. I probably should have done sales though. I probably would have fucking killed it, but whatever. But I wanted to be like an analyst, so he was kind of, like lining up kind of some stuff that I could like interview for. And like right around that time, I decided to be a porn star. So yeah. Question is like, do I regret? Like I said, don't regret doing porn. And at a certain point, I realized I didn't want to be in that working environment. But I definitely realized I turned down some opportunities that maybe I would have changed my mind about, and maybe I would have liked it more had I pursued them. So you live and learn. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of story time. If you like more Wall Street business oriented kind of videos and story times, leave a like and a comment and subscribe. I love you guys so much, and thanks for listening to my motherfucking face. Goodbye.